Well, you're going to be really bad. Okay, this week, I think we kind of went over it, and I'm going to skim over it real quick on movements. And it's covering movements in hyperkeys. So, and I you know, if you guys remember, I think we went over this, didn't we?
We did this.
Okay. Then I'm going to go on to the next one. Does everybody feel comfortable with the movements? Moving around, what the hyperkeys do, D, delete,
The oops button.
G for global.
I actually used that today.
The G?
The oops button.
Oh yeah.
It helped me a lot because I deleted like almost 10.
I'll tell you what, and I still do it. I'll do something dumb, you know, whatever. So I mean, it happens. So don't feel bad about, you know, that's why it's there. Okay. We went over the oops and delete. You guys know that, right?
What? I'm sorry?
The oops and delete keys. I'm just going to kind of skim through some of these, just make sure that we covered it and that you guys feel comfortable. Yeah, that one's pretty short. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is trouble spots. Very, very important lesson. You know, when I took that class with Mr. Vincent, he said, you know, this is one that you want to go real slow. Make sure that they get it because, you know, it's pretty important. It's pretty important stuff. So, you know, if you have any questions, you know, let me know. In hyperkeys, you know, they always want you to keep your fingers on the home key. You know, so you can do almost anything from the home keys. Some of the most important are like trouble scanning. T, U, C, and E. They have capital C there for an unresolved. So if you're going to use a capital in hyperkeys, it's something that you're not going to use as much. So they're going to give you the small letter because it's something that you're going to use more. And they try to use the letters according to what you're going to do. So T, small t is for trouble scan, U is for untranslates, C is for conflicts. Okay? And we'll watch the visualizer.
Eclipse offers a large number of scans as well as multi-scan for quick editing of your document. As well as multi-scan for quick editing of your document. You can scan forward or backward looking for any of several items, but the most basic trouble spots are untranslates and unselected conflicts. Here's the toolbar icon to scan to trouble spots. It will stop on untranslates, conflicts that have not yet been selected, and blanks that have not yet been filled with information. Of course, it's faster to use hyperkey T or speed key Control T, as in trouble. But you may want to target untranslates only, or go just to the next conflict, perhaps an unselected conflict. There are hyperkeys for these purposes, as well as speed keys. Multi-scan automatically repeats your last scan. So if I want to quickly go through my document, correcting untranslates, or resolving conflicts, then multi-scan would be the quickest way to go through my document. If, however, you find that Eclipse loses your place after you create a global or resolve a conflict, check to see if you haven't accidentally turned multi-scan on.
Okay, kind of covered a lot of information in that. So I'm going to kind of go through it again, kind of stopping it and kind of explaining some stuff.
Eclipse offers a large number of scans as well as multi-scan for quick editing of your document. You can scan forward or backward looking for any of several items, but the most basic trouble spots are untranslates and unselected conflicts. Here's the toolbar icon to scan to trouble spots. It will stop on untranslates, conflicts that have not yet been selected, and blanks that have not yet been filled with information.
Okay, what they're talking about here is, you know, untranslates is something that you just don't have in your dictionary, okay? Which is no big deal. So you have a button, you know, that goes to something that doesn't translate. Make sense? To the untranslate. So what it's going to do is, and then they'll kind of skip forward in a little bit, but when you have that multi-scan on over here and you go through your untranslates, you know, you hit your what is it, T for untranslate, it's going to go to your first untranslate, global it, define it, whether you want it in a job dictionary, main dictionary, or trash dictionary, whatever. Once you've globaled it, it already knows. Once you have it on multi, it's going to go to the next one, then the next one, next one. As you're resolving them, it just keeps going through and resolving them. Does that make sense? If you don't have the multi on, it's only going to do that one. And you're probably asking, well, I mean, why would I want to do that? Why, you know, it increases your time editing. It really does. You know, especially like when you get out, that you're listening to the WAV files, it's going to go through a lot quicker once you've done your untranslates, your conflicts, and fill in your blanks. Okay? You know, and all it's doing right here is just words that you kind of write the same. Your, it's and its. You know, maybe you write them the same. I don't know how everybody does them. You know, everyone writes a little bit different. So, you know, mine it's a little bit harder to do conflicts, but it still brings it up and it gives me the option. You know, like you know, if I tried to stroke out you and I hit your, it'll give me the option. Did you want you in over here in the magic keys? It'll give me, you know, number one is you. Did you want your, Y-O-U-R, or did you want the contraction, your, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E? So it'll give me the three different ones. You know, sometimes it can resolve it itself, sometimes it doesn't, you know, but it's only going to do what you tell it to do. Okay? So if you stroked it, then it's going to do it the way that you stroked it because it thinks that it was correct. But like mine, you know, you is Y-O-U. I don't know how y'all stroke it if it's just you. Some people just do you. You know, I didn't learn it that way. I learned Stinnett. So mine is Y-O-U. My your is Y-O-U-R. So, you know, sometimes, I mean, you're just going so fast, you know, and sometimes, you know, my fingers are a little weak. Sometimes these are a little weak. So I just accidentally hit the R sometimes, you know, just going so fast. And it feels like I stroked it perfectly. But, I mean, you know, like on my machine, sometimes it, you know, it's so sensitive on certain letters that you barely have to touch it and it'll go. So I have to be careful with what I do. I used to. Now I don't as much, you know, because the software helps me do it. Make sense? So, let me go through. So it'll take you through, you know, and you're doing your untranslates, you're doing your conflicts, and it's like, you know, why, you know, it's not that big of a deal. I can go through, edit it, listening to it, edit it, you know, and just push 1, 2, you know, if you want number 1, you want number 2. You know, once it comes to that once your cursor comes here, then it gives you that option. Do you want number 1? Do you want number 2? You know, whatever. So, you know, and then here, when you have to fill in a blank, that's E. You know, so you have to push the different letters to do different things, which makes sense. I mean, you know, if you want to go through and do all of your conflicts, then it'll just go through to the conflicts. But if you want to do all of your untranslates, it'll go to your untranslates. Or when you fill in your fields, it'll just take you to those parts. Make sense?
Of course, it's faster to use hyperkey T or speedkey Control T, as in trouble. But you may want to target untranslates only, or go just to the next conflict, perhaps an unselected conflict. There are hyperkeys for these purposes, as well as speed keys. Multiscan automatically repeats your last scan. So if I want to quickly go through my document, correcting untranslates, or resolving conflicts, then multiscan would be the quickest way to go through my document.
The multiscan is the Shift Control M. Okay, so that's how you turn it on and off, is the Shift Control M. So if you just want to do the one, then you want to make sure that the multi is off. You know, maybe you're going through your document and you're like, you know what, I don't think I had that many conflicts in this one, or untranslates. So I'm just going to kind of go through and do it, you know, as I'm editing the job. Well, that's fine. You accidentally put multi on, or multi was on, it's going to go through, and then you're going to lose your place on your job. You know, so you have to be careful with that. So if it does it one time, it's going to do it again. So you need to turn it off. Control Shift M turns it on. Control Shift M turns it off. Okay?
That's not on here, is it?
No.
I was trying to find it.
You might want to write it on there.
Well,
Write it on that sheet. That sheet that I gave you guys that I told you to laminate or whatever, if you didn't laminate it,
Show me more.
like some people and others.
I don't have my own personal laminating machine.
Do you
Huh?
need more of those papers?
Weirdo. Do what?
Do you have any more?
You know what? I don't think I do.
Do they even make laminating machines anymore?
I'm sorry?
I just used the cover of one of these,
What did you say?
I'm just being a
oh, I printed mine out.
No, I didn't. But you can go on.
Scan it to you.
Okay.
Scan it and send it to you.
Yeah, please,
I
thanks,
don't
Tina.
think I got the second one. I only have the
Well, you can go in the lesson. You can go in the lesson
Oh,
where
okay.
we did it, and all you have to do is press print, and
Oh,
it'll
okay,
print.
then that's fine. Don't worry about it.
And the other one that we did is a great idea that I told you guys about, where it has the small a, small b, big B, C, D, and it kind of goes down. That's a little bit easier to me. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want. Hmm?
She's stealing my notes. I was like, can you just email me what you wrote? That looks prettier than that.
If, however, you find that Eclipse loses your place after you create a global or resolve a conflict, check to see if you haven't accidentally turned multiscan on.
So I don't know if you guys, which you don't need it, but if you have it in the toolbar and you use your toolbar, ridiculous, but if you do, you can. It's okay. But if you do, that was the one thing to.
Eclipse offers a large number of Eclipse loses your place after you create.
This is what the multi-scan is. So it's the little binoculars with the 3 little
Dots.
doohickeys. All right. So if you use that, then that's what that's for. That's why it's showing you, you know, the different ways of doing it. Or you can just do the Control Shift M. Okay. Also, you can do forward and reverse scans. So say, you know, an attorney calls you and says, you know what, I need an excerpt testimony of just the mom's testimony. And we had the caseworker, mom, dad, and the therapist. You know what, I just need the mom's testimony. Okay. So you go through, edit, you know, take all the, untranslate out just of hers or whatever. Start editing. Well, he calls you. You know what? Just go ahead and do the whole thing. I'm just going to need the whole thing. well, I've already started editing from there, and I've already done the transcript. I mean, the conflicts from maybe we had the caseworker first, then mom, dad, therapist. And you started with mom, and you still have to go through and do the caseworker. So now you have to translate backwards. This is kind of what it's telling you right here. So you can forward scan and reverse scan. Also, you can go through and mark your spot. So if you want to go through there and, you know, do a reverse scan or a forward scan, you can. And in HyperKeys, it's R, and then whatever you want to do. Like it's R, and they'll give you an option. Let's see if we can do it. So R is going to upscan. Are y'all looking? R gives you the option to upscan. Well, what do you want to upscan? So it gives you different options. Well, you know what? I want to do an untranslate. I want to do all the untranslates from there up. And you can. Or you want to go to the last answer. Say you're at the bottom. Say they're doing closing arguments or whatever. And they're like, you know what? Go back to that last question answer that we did. What was that last question that I asked? You're already in it. You already have your stuff out. It's like, instead of going, they've been going 15 minutes, maybe 10 pages. So you're backing up 10 pages. You don't have to do that. R in HyperKeys gives you an upscan. The letters give you what you want to do. So you want to go to the last answer. It's A. The byline, the last byline where they started. Maybe the guy's in cross-examination, and he's like, "Well, you know what? You didn't ask the witness her name." Yeah, I did. No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. Reporter, go back. Go back to where I started. Well, he's been questioning that witness for about 3 hours. And maybe it wasn't at the very beginning of that, section. All you do is R, reverse scan, and B for byline. That'll take you to the next byline of where they started again. But you kind of have to be careful, because every time they object, it's gonna put it in colloquy. Y'all know what colloquy is?
Can you explain it?
Colloquy?
Yeah.
Colloquy is this right here, where you have the different speakers right here that are talking.
Okay.
This is colloquy, right here.
Is it a different color, or does it still show up?
You can put it whatever colors you want. I think we talked about colors, didn't we?
You can change it. It's fine.
Have we talked about colors yet?
No.
I wasn't here last week.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a question.
Did you watch the video?
Yes, I watched
Okay.
it.
What do you got?
It's not necessarily about the software, but I remember you talking about how your machine has a mark key, so when you mess up and you can go, like you mark it, you can go back later. I don't have a mark key on my machine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recommend having a machine?
Well, you probably have the student version.
No, it's the professional version. but
Really?
It's older. I don't have a mark key.
What machine is it?
The Alonzira. And none of these buttons do anything in particular.
They don't?
No.
I'll look at it on the break, but it's kind of weird. So the buttons are just for show?
I guess that's
They're pretty.
The only one that works is the power of
Wow, yeah. That's pretty. Anywho. So this is colloquy right here, guys. This right here. So, sometimes what I do is I'll try to put, like a period, and I'll put like an extra G in there or whatever. I've already defined it so many times that if I don't stroke it exactly correct, it puts it up as an answer symbol. Y'all understand what happened there? It's not like I was trying to do question answer right here. It should have been up there. So if I need to fix it, come right here, Control J, puts it back up. Y'all know how to do that? We've gone through that. Oh yeah. Control J puts it with the existing paragraph. Okay? I guess you already knew that because nobody's writing it down. Write these things down, guys. If you know how to do it, don't worry about it. But if you don't, write it down, because the more you do it, write it down, whatever, the more you're going to remember.
Did you say it?
You trying to flag down the plane in the back.
Okay. Okay, so this might be a dumb question, and I'm 50 years old, and I've never taken a computer class. What is the difference between Alt, Control, Shift, and why do you use them at different times for different things?
Well, it all depends. I mean, because like in this software, it just gives you options. It gives you different options, is all it does. So it's like using the asterisk when you're writing.
Do I have to memorize them then? Like what the Alt does? It just seems to me that Alt does something and then Control Shift does something. You know, there's some thing we can learn in general about what those keys do.
No, really it doesn't. I don't think that it has like a certain purpose, like this is all Alt does and this is all Shift does. I don't, you know, Eclipse does it certain ways. So they try to do it
Okay.
with certain letters, and it's going to be, you know, Control Shift whatever. You just have to memorize what you're trying to do.
Think
Yeah.
about it this way, Tina. Have you ever played a computer game where the keys are bound, like number 1 does something, number 2 does something on the game?
No.
Never? Okay.
Okay,
So
But I understand
then it's
what
like
you're
that.
saying.
Okay. So in a computer game, your keys are bound. Number 1 does something, number 2.
Okay.
Okay, so
Send me the message.
it's the same concept.
Okay.
In this particular game,
Okay.
Shift, this does, their keys are bound.
I have to memorize them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
And that's
It's not
all it
like
is.
Alt does something, Alt 7 does something, and then Shift brings it back.
Yeah,
Not like that.
no.
One does the opposite of the other.
It just,
Okay, good,
It
because
ought
I
to-
didn't think it did.
no, it doesn't. I mean, and everything just kind of has something different,
Okay,
you know, so you just have to memorize what you're trying to do. Okay?
okay, that's a good answer.
What was I talking about? Oh, going back to a byline. Going back to the byline. So, like, say they had question answer up here. Well, he comes over here and says, you know what, I object. I object to the form of the question. Okay. That's really all they can do. Like in a deposition, they just kind of object to certain things, and then they kind of go on with the deposition. Really, all it's for is for trial. They're setting it up for trial so that when it comes and they ask this they ask this witness if they call that witness, or if they submit that transcript into the record, then they're going to go back and say, you know what, I objected to that question as to form. Oh, okay, well, yeah, we can go through there and see that. And then the judge has to rule on it. So, you know, he comes up here and says, you know, I object to the question as to form. Okay, well then the guy comes back and starts asking questions again. So then you have another byline. So then you have to hit his symbol, question, and then it puts another byline. So, you know, it may not take you to the beginning of the document if the guy's objected a couple of times to where you need to be at the beginning. But if you don't, then you just push R, B, goes to the next byline, R, B, goes to the next byline. So it just keeps going until you get to the beginning of that byline. Does that make sense?
Okay, this may be a stupid question, but can you explain what a byline is?
Yeah, I'll show you.
I think I know.
Because I'm feeling like it's too early for me to be taking this class, because I'm feeling like
What are you talking about?
I don't know what those are.
This is a byline right here. By so-and-so. It's not really supposed to look like this because there's not supposed to be a question right there.
Okay,
So-
so when an attorney starts question answer,
Yeah,
then the beginning of that person's testimony and everything, you put who is starting the question.
oh yeah.
Perfect, gotcha.
Because you have to know who's doing the questioning. You have to. So if you don't put that in there, the person reading the transcript isn't going to know who was questioning, especially if they weren't at the deposition. So you have to put who they were and question. Then that sets it up in the byline. Eclipse already knows, you know, when you define your speaker identifications, it already knows. So, you know, Miss Rayford right here is, you know, she's getting ready to question. The judge is like, you know, you may proceed. Hit Miss Rayford's symbol, question, and then it goes. Make sense? Okay.
Symbol, question, the question bank.
And it already knows to set it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Symbol,
So whatever symbol you have for that speaker, then it sets it up like that. Okay? Does that make sense? Sleepy.
Huh?
Sleep.
A little bit. Like, quit throwing me under the bus. She fell asleep.
Okay, you know, you have 3 different trouble spots. You have an untranslate, an unresolved conflict, and a form field that needs to be filled in. Okay? So, if you want to go through, say you've already kind of gone through maybe 20 pages of the document. It's like, you know what, I'm just going to go through and do all my unresolveds right now. Hyperkey, Shift X marks your spot right there. And then you can go all the way through that thing. You can go all the way through that job. And then Hyperkey V, Hyperkey Shift V takes you back to that spot. Okay? So say I'm right here. I'm in Hyperkeys because my cursor is larger. See that? That big, big. Okay? So Shift X just mark that spot.
But that's capital X, right?
Yeah, Shift. Shift X is capital X. Okay? Shift X.
Sorry.
So say, you know, well, I want to see how long this document is. So I go Alt G, 99. It takes me to the end of the document. It's 64 pages. Okay, no problem. Shift V takes me right back to where I marked my last spot. Shift V takes you back. Shift X marks it. You have to mark it first. Because if you don't mark it, go to the end of the document, maybe SOL, then you're going to have to find your spot. Shift X. So X is like marking something. You know, so they try to do in the software, but it relates to different things. So, you know, when you want to mark something, you put an X on it. I think that's why they did it. Not quite sure what the V is. Return. We'll go with return. Vámonos back. We'll go with that. So that's why they put V. Vamos back.
So now the software speaks Spanish.
Oh yeah, it's bilingual. So Shift X marks,